Hey there, welcome to this special episode of the Motorcycles and Misfits podcast, where we are going to talk about the new film, The Bikeriders, out now in theaters near you. Mike and Jim were fortunate enough to go down to Los Angeles for the press junket and get some pretty cool interviews. This movie stars Tom Hardy, Austin Butler, Jodie Comer, and our old friend, Norman Reedus.
But you're the man in charge. I'm Sonny. I was hoping maybe to get a little food, a little drink, camp out for a night or two. Want to show a little class, contribute to the party.
Help yourself. It's Brucey, it's Benny right there with the boot, and I'm Johnny. We're the Vandals.
Well, it's nice to meet you proper.
I'm thinking of starting a riding club.
Why? All those clubs do is sit around talking about motorcycles.
That's what we do.
You don't belong nowhere else, so we belong together.
But you're the man in charge.
I'm Johnny. We're the Vandals.
I'm Benny. I like you guys.
Your boyfriends are getting into trouble.
Shit.
What the hell were you thinking back there?
Nothing. I saw you squaring off with them guys. What do I need to think for?
Yeah, you and me, kid.
Johnny always loved Benny.
This is our family. Forever.
Hey! Told you to take that jacket off.
You'd have to kill me to get this jacket off.
I don't want any trouble here.
Then I'll let you leave. What about the bar? Burn it down.
We gotta go.
Nah, we don't. They're scared of us. These young guys, they ain't gonna follow nobody except somebody who can hold their own.
The club is changing. Running drugs, gambling.
Is that how we got him out?
You can't have him, he's mine. If he keeps riding, he's gonna die one way or another.
I need you.
Some people would rather crash than slow down.
So, guys, you got a really cool opportunity to go down to Los Angeles for the press junket for the Bikeriders movie. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it was pretty special. It was definitely a unique experience. They, I guess you called me and Jim. I guess we were the last people on the list who were available.
My probation just ended.
Yeah,
I could leave
yeah.
50 miles from home.
Especially after my Keanu debacle.
I knew I would be out of the country, and I was so jealous that you guys got to go do this. And I appreciate that you went down there.
I thought it was really special. And yeah, it was a little bit last notice, but we got some passes to go see a screening of the movie in advance with like other media. Kind of in the middle of the day, and that was kind of a weird thing. We were trying to figure out when, because they happened in different places, and we had to see it before we went down. And you asked us to go down to the bike shed in LA like the next day after the screening. So
yeah, how cool that they held this whole junket at the bike shed. This is your first time there, right?
Yeah, it was my first time, and it'd been a while since I went to LA. But like I said, me and Mike were super stoked. We flew down together. It was a good trip for us, and rolled into Bike Shed. It's in kind of a little bit of an industrial part of town. But before we go any further, I want to say huge kudos to the Bike Shed crew, everybody. We got to meet Vicky, who's one of the important players there, we'll say, and the rest of her staff, and they were great. So Bike Shed, if you haven't been there. I've not been to the one in London.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, but the one in LA, it's an industrial area, and you kind of roll into this parking lot in front, and it's a big kind of L-shaped building with graffiti on one side and, kind of industrial looking, bunch of motorcycles parked in front, so you're at the right place.
Rolling up, something good is inside.
Yeah, something good is inside. And it only gets better. I'll say I didn't know what to expect, but when you go in, the first thing you're greeted with are nice people, friendly, like motorcycle-y staff, and a beautiful bar restaurant area, and then some a store in the back with shirts and cool stuff, a tattoo parlor, a haircut place.
Barbershop.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely the least cool person in that entire zip code, I'll tell you.
I was the second.
Yeah.
I was behind Jim, though. I wasn't in front
But
of him.
what was nice, and I think one of the two things that are, I think, at the core of what they do there, there were cool custom-built motorcycles everywhere, like cool bikes, right? Michael attests to that. Secondly, and Vicky and I talked about this, is the sense of inclusion that the Bike Shed infuses into their DNA. And what I mean by that is they're as accepting as we are. After we started chatting and the importance of community, which is what they're trying to build. One small example, there's no TVs in the bar, right? Because the idea is to have conversation, but it extends well beyond that. So Bike Shed, if you're in, and then so one half of it is that. The other half is kind of an event space, at least that we saw. There's lots of other nooks and crannies, huh? And but that's where the interviews were happening. All the media stuff was happening, was in this larger event space. Where we interviewed Norman looked almost like a scene out of a movie, like a speakeasy bar.
Yeah.
Leather couches, a horseshoe-shaped sort of bar kind of a thing. So there's lots of cool little things to Bike Shed. But anyway, huge kudos to them. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, we had already set up the interview with Norman, so we knew that was happening. There was the possibility of an interview with Tom Hardy that kind of came and went.
Yeah.
Were you guys shitting yourself about that?
No.
Oh, no. No, Mike thought he could choke him out in under 30 seconds.
No. I wasn't. That would have been kind of cool. I mean, we had plenty of time to do it. In hindsight, we could have probably booked everybody and interviewed everyone.
Well, I think to Mike's credit, we had one other interview aside from Norman that I think was one of the most interesting people that we've had on the podcast in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys found a cool interview with Jeff Millburn, who's the stunt coordinator, and he also supplied all the bikes, which is like gold mine.
Well, when you say all the bikes, I mean, that is an understatement.
Yeah, and I think he had something to do with the vehicles too, because I mean, it's a 1965 base movie. So obviously the cars have to be like late 50s, mid 60s eras. Remember the car show they went to and had the fight or whatever. Yeah, there was a lot of really, really cool, very authentic things involved in it. And, this guy, Jeff, had a major part in it. But the way that we met him was really interesting. And, the fact that he had time to sit and talk with us, I thought it was pretty cool too.
Well, like Jeff said, we were the only dudes looking at the bikes.
Yeah. Can I say something about the Bike Shed too?
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting because I'd never been there. I didn't know what to expect. I've seen videos online about the London one, and I just, I didn't really know what to expect. And when we came up, it was very weird because it's completely in the middle of nowhere in like very, very warehouse district. And the first thing I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh, you have to like, you're not off the beaten path. You're not like, oh, let me just go into this place. Like you're specifically going there to go there. And I was hoping that when I go inside, I would be like, well, I wonder what it's going to be like, you know what I mean? To be able to draw people in. But one thing for sure is like the place itself is a vibe, there's just everywhere you look, it's kind of like this podcast room. Like there's like always something cool to look at and kind of like really get into. And then the bikes like he was talking about, unbelievable. Like I've seen a lot of custom bikes, and I couldn't tell you the designers. One of the girls was telling me about them, but there was one that was just like all sheet metal that was like hand, banged out or whatever, and it was kind of a cafe racer, kind of like a Mad Max bike, but it was beautiful. Like where they positioned the light and it almost looked like something out of 1920s that somebody straight up like spent a couple years making and did a really good job. And it was just amazing. It was like right there, and you just walk around it. Then there was like more and more of them, and it wasn't just like a 72 shovel head like mine. It's just like, wow, it's a cool skinny long raked out bike. Everything was like very unique and special.
The other thing I kind of, Mike, it just maybe pop in my head, everyone we spoke to was super authentic. In the sense that you talk to Norman, not only does he have his acting career, but he's got big bald head, a whole nother thing he works on. And he was telling us about some of the new projects going on with that, right? So he's a doer of things. Talk to Jeff. And when I first saw Jeff, I mean, he's a cool dude. Like, you look at him, you're like, that guy's got a sense of style. You know, he had this great Western shirt with hand-stitched white stitching around the collar. Almost like too cool. And then you meet him and you're like, dude, I thought you were cool before, but the stories he told were even cooler. So again, a super legit guy, you know, stunt man, worked up to stunt coordinator. Well, and then the bike shed too, the motorcycles, they were like proper built custom bikes. There was nothing posery about the whole scene. It was all, I thought, pretty legit.
Yeah. I mean, the reason that we were asked to go down there specifically was because this movie was put on hold from last year. And there's the what do you call it when everybody strike, actor strike, right? So this movie was like getting ready to be released last year, and I think a lot of this stuff would have happened, but I think that all of a sudden, really quickly, they pulled everything together and they held onto the movie for a year, and they're about to get ready to release it. So they connected with marketing companies looking out for like all things motorcycle to try to get this thing out as quickly as possible, and this was, you know, all within a matter of, you know, 5 weeks before the movie's out in theaters. So they're hitting everything hard, and I don't know if anybody's seen online or, you know, on their Instagrams or anything like that, but I'm getting a ton of stuff. It's not just because I go on bike, but anything motorcycle related, like I'm just getting hit from all angles, little clips, trailers, interviews with them. So I think it was really important for them to try to, you know, and I think Jeff Millburn had a lot to do with that approach to the marketing as well, right? Like they're not going to like Harley or you know, Indian and like the big cruiser things. Like they're going to all aspects of motorcycle, because I think that this movie kind of can be appreciated by everybody, but also we're a niche kind of a thing. Like it's you know, it's not like what do you call that movie with all the cars and Vin Diesel? What the hell is that movie? Too Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Right, like everybody can watch that one because there's colorful cars, you know, girls and muscle dudes and guns and this and that. This is like a little bit more like very motorcycle centric. So
going back to the junket, there were some of the stars of the movie there too. Was there a whole buzz about that?
Yeah, it was interesting. It was very interesting the way we come up. So like if I could set the way this thing is, like as soon as you get in there, you're like in a parking lot. And like you said, it's like an L-shaped building. So right when you come in, I didn't really, but what I found out later on is that that's like the club, the members area or something, also reserved for like private stuff. And then you go through and there's like that smoking lounge, which is definitely members only. And then it goes into like the bigger section where there's like the restaurant, outdoor patio on the right side. And so as soon as we go up there, like everybody looks normal. Like nobody, you know, it doesn't look like a Hollywood set. It's just like a very casual, like kind of motorcycle centric restaurant. But you can kind of tell some people are maybe in the movie stuff. So we had to like go and ask people like, hey, are you so-and-so? Or like, we need to go and do this. Like, what's the, like, what do we do? And it was very casual. It was very laid back, but they're like, oh yeah, over there is where it is. Here's your band. Because in order to get into that section, there's like actors there, and the actors had their own handlers
yeah,
and security with them, like for just kind of like following them around.
Yeah.
But even still, with that being said, there's a lot of staff for, you know, and it was kind of hard to tell who's who.
Yeah, well, and I think they're all used to it. They're all in that business, so everyone kind of knew each other. And, oh, this is what we're doing. It wasn't a big deal. But when Jodie Comer walked in, oh, hello, everybody perked up. And then Austin Butler walks in, they're like, oh my. But the whole vibe, like Mike mentioned, it was so laid back. Everyone was chill. Everyone was nice. Yeah, it was a cool scene.
Cool. Well, let's get to your interview with Norman. Here it is.
All right. Hey there, everybody. We are here in Los Angeles at the becoming more and more famous all the time Bike Shed, LA. And we are joined by an old friend of ours, Norman Reedus.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think the last time we got together was back in 2016 for season 1 of Ride with Norman.
That's right.
And I think we were the final scene in episode 1 was when you came and visited us at Recycle Garage in sunny Santa Cruz, California.
That's right, with Imogen.
Yeah, with Imogen, exactly. And so anyway, thanks for making the time to meet with us. And we're here to talk about the new movie we're all highly anticipating the release of, The Bikeriders. Yeah, which I think is coming out in June.
That's right.
Yeah, so anyway, thanks for joining us, and we appreciate you making the time.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you guys again.
So, kind of just jumping right into it, for all the Norman fans out there, what can we expect? Because, like, we're motorcyclists, you're a motorcyclist, and this is all Hollywood, but for, like, the real Norman fans that are motorcycle fans, kind of what can we expect from the movie?
It's a moment in time. It's a memory. Like you look at old photographs or at least I do. I look at them and I wonder, like, what's that about? Like, what is this setting? What does it mean? What happened to them? And that culture, that time period, that music, that fashion, those bikes, like everybody that rides motorcycles has a leather jacket somewhere, and it's either from Marlon Brando or this time period. But I think Jeff is really good at painting ambiance and a stickler for detail that takes you into this moment in time, like takes you in a time that's never going to happen again. And I feel like, the bikes are all legit, the cars are legit, the clothes are legit, the directing, the dialogue, and it's all, if you like bikes, if you like freedom, and you like all the things that go with bikes, it's that.
Yeah, Jeff, what an amazing storyteller.
Oh, yeah.
And you kind of alluded to it, but, kind of curious, when you saw this coming out and you saw the time period, did you go back and watch any of the old classic motorcycle films like The Wild One or Hell's Angels on Wheels or any of that kind of stuff?
I watched the Catherine Bigelow one with Defoe in it.
Okay.
That's kind of one of my favorite of those biker movies, and I'm a huge Defoe fan and Catherine fan. That's the first film I watched when I got to Ohio. So I was filming Daryl Dixon in France, and I'd bounce back and forth to Ohio, right? But that was the first one I watched.
Yeah. All right. Cool. And it's funny, the characters and stuff, and because you're like a biker and stuff, and it's such a biker movie, and your character, Funny Sonny, right? Not giving too much away, I don't think. Did you find it hard to get into that role, or did you just like roll out of bed and be like, dude, I can play this with my eyes closed?
It's funny because I went to Cannes and I sat next to Jeff Nichols, and we're talking for about an hour, right? And he goes, "Hey, I got a movie I'm doing. You want to play this one part in it?" And I'm like, "Who are you?" He goes, "I'm Jeff Nichols." And it's like after an hour, right? And he's like, "I'm Jeff Nichols." And I was like, "Oh wait, did you direct Mud?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Why didn't you tell me you're the guy that directed Mud?" And then so he's talking about this film, and he goes, "It's called The Bikeriders." And I go, "The Danny Lyon's photography book?" And he goes, "You know about that?"
You knew about the book?
"I have prints from that book in my house. I have a signed book from Danny." So I knew it really well. And then he sent me the script, and he showed me who was playing in the movie, what actors were in it. And I was like, "Jeff, you got a lot of good-looking guys in this movie." And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Can I try something? Can I go in the other direction?" And
the teeth.
So I had Greg Nicotero, Walking Dead, make the teeth in France. And then I'd get on the airplane, I'd wear the teeth, and I'll have a Coke. Just talking to people, see if they could understand me. And then I was walking around Ohio for about a week, right from the beginning, like going to Starbucks, trying to see if they could understand me.
Did you fit right in Ohio?
People were looking at me like I was insane. And then, I go to Target and I'm like, "Do you have any sweatpants?" And then,
too many sweatpants.
You know what I mean?
Target.
Right. And then that all happened, and then the cast hadn't seen me yet. I hadn't met them, and they hadn't seen me like this. So I'm up, I'm riding this panhead that has a suicide shift that has a rubber duck on the top of it that's made out of bronze, and I'm not allowed to touch the duck because it's going to break off. So I'm like with the teeth and the hair and everything, and I'm trying to thread the thing with my two little fingers, trying to get it in the thing, and I'm sitting up there, and the first AD's going to give me the go-ahead to come down the hill, and there's like 200 extras on the field, and I'm riding this thing, and I'm up there, and he's waiting for this, and he gives me this, and right before I looked at the makeup lady, and I was like, "Can I borrow those pink glasses?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Nice." And then he goes, "Go." And I'm like, "Wait, are these prescription?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I was like, "Okay, fuck it." And so I went down there, but I hit my mark, like right on the front tire, right on the dime. And then I got off the bike, and there's Tom Hardy and Michael Shannon and Jodie and Austin, and I'm like, and
You're full costume.
first time they saw me,
Really?
they're looking at me like, what's he doing? Like, oh my God, right? So I was nervous. That was my intro to them and to the movie. And
Had you never met them before or previously in other situations? Oh.
No.
How funny. Yeah. And
Crazy, right?
it is crazy. And not to give too much, away from the movie, but you definitely kind of represented what looked like this just nappy dude from Burdu back in the day.
Well, West Coast style.
West Coast style.
I mean, that was
big
the
time.
introduction of like the West Coast style of motorcycles to, the Midwest, which is like a very 50s style of like classic vintage bikes. And I mean, they use chopper, the word chopper, but the 50 style bikes. But I mean, the chopper version of choppers that we know today are like high bars, 8 over, what I mean, suicide shift and open
Spring
primaries,
front end,
all that stuff.
You know, the bike too, it has a 70s motor in it. So the story is that Funny, Sonny, and Michael Shannon's characters started breaking into motorcycle shops and stealing engines. So, and they did it in 1970. So there's a 1970 engine in the old bike. So we could only shoot the bike from the front until that time period happens in the movie, and then we see it from the side.
That's so cool.
So we shot it directly from the front, and then later on you see the side of the bike with the 70s engine in it.
Yeah. I feel like I had spoken to one of the stunt director, Jeff.
He built the bike.
Oh, he's so excited. I mean, he's so excited, and he was like the perfect person to speak to about a lot of the things we were seeing, because I feel like if you're a true motorcycle person, right, like obsessed with bikes, right, you're gonna see all those things and like they mean something more than just a movie where you're just like, all right, cool, this is like a story. But it is a story, but the bikes are the story. You know what I mean? And it's like the characters are just an extension of the characters. Even the guy Calla was saying something about that, like, oh, the chopper, it's individual to you. But I saw that the bike started to transition a little bit towards the end, because they're talking about chopper, and then all of a sudden you see Frisco tanks, sissy bars, high bars, and I'm getting chills thinking about it. I was like, dude, somebody knows what the hell they're doing. Like,
You know that Jeff built those bikes, but the bikes belong to Oliver Peck, the tattoo artist in Texas. And doing Ride, I went to Texas and I went to his house, so I saw all the bikes. He's got 50 bikes at his house, maybe more. So I saw the bikes there, and then I did Oliver's podcast, and I was talking to him, and I was like, dude, Jeff, and he put that rubber duck on there, and I wasn't allowed to touch. He goes, you could totally have touched the rubber duck. I shifted all day. I'm like, Jeff told me not to touch the rubber duck, so I wasn't touching the rubber duck. And he's like, fucking Jeff. He's like, that was all Jeff. And I'm like, dude, he told me I could have touched the duck the whole time. And he's like, I didn't want it to break off. And I'm like, you're such a jerk. But he's great. Jeff's fantastic. So is Oliver.
So did you come to love the bike after a while, or just like, I
have a lot of bikes. I have like a 46 Knucklehead. I have choppers, and I have a bunch of FXRs and stuff.
But
I like the bike, but it's I'm not this guy. I don't like this.
It's so weird.
I like this, and I like this, and I like this. But I don't. This I feel like I'm leading with my chin a little bit. I'm not used to it. You know what I mean?
So, I agree with you 100%.
And the brakes, there's no drum brakes, and they're all may stop, they may not stop. And then there's the pullback throttle, and some of them on the show they didn't have. What do you call it? Snapback.
So you gotta like manually, and they're so heavy, and it's like 4 gears, and like the whole thing's just so interesting. I mean, like when you ride, I feel like when you're riding a Harley, right? Like I'll get on the freeway and I'll be going 55, and I feel like I'm going 120. This thing's rattling to shit. It's falling apart. It's oil and it smells, and it's just like this steam engine just going through. And I'm like, oh, and I look down, and I'm like, oh, I'm only going 50. But
so I am curious. You mentioned a little bit about what you have in the garage. So, like all of us, we probably all have too many bikes. But what are some of your favorites, or some of the unique stuff, and what do you just like to ride daily, kind of thing?
I have an '87 FXR that's made by Univ at Power Plant, and that's my favorite. It's root beer brown. And he was like, what color you want it? I'm like, surprise me. And it came back this root beer brown color with like gold trim, and it just grew on me, but it just fits me.
So at first you weren't married to the color?
No, I liked it right off the bat, but I didn't think he was going to pick root beer brown. And it works. But it's not even just the color. Like, just that bike they all have their own personality. That bike like loves me.
Yeah.
I still do the Triumph bikes because of ride.
Yep.
And that 1200 Rally Pro, the Tiger
Did you
is
get the Tiger?
awesome.
Yeah.
I have one here. It's at the hotel.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, super capable, fun, comfy.
Yeah.
And they look great.
Yeah,
It's a
and then
cool looking
and
bike.
they're so tall. Like, you have to turn off the ABS brakes, and they come down like half an inch. I need that little half an inch. And even if I take the seat off and put it on the lower thing, like, I'm on my tippy toes on the thing. So I, I'm gonna have to buy high heels or something. But I love that bike. That's my drive cross country bike.
Oh, no kidding, huh?
Yeah.
Do you ever play in a movie where you're on a bike and you're like, I want to take this home? Like, is there any way we work something out?
Yeah, I mean, I've done it on ride. I've like seen something in someone's barn. I'm like, what's with the thing?
Really?
Yeah. So I've done that. Yeah, and then even that Tiger, when they brought that on, I rode it for the first time on the show. I was kind of like, you know what? It should be like a man on his horse traveling around the world. We should keep this Tiger, and we'll go and we'll ride other people's bikes, on the show too. But
Like Roland Sand's bike. And all
but a lot of Harley guys come on the show and they're like, I only ride Harleys, and then I'm like, try this bike, and then they end up buying them.
Yeah.
Even Greg Smurs, our remember Greg, the stunt, the safety guy who works with Tom Cruise?
Yep.
He was like, he bought one right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Harleys are cool. We all like them. They're cool. But
they're great.
Yeah, if you want to spend 40 grand on 86 horsepower, it's a great way to go. No, I'm kidding.
No,
But,
I love my Harleys.
Yeah.
But I like them all. I have a little Yamaha 250 in Costa Rica. I love that thing too.
My favorite bike is my daughter's Yamaha P50, the little 50.
Yeah.
I rip around with the little girl on it. I don't know why it's so much fun.
Yeah. My daughter loves the sound too. She like runs outside when especially when
She's
Georgia.
Vroom, vroom, vroom.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, my neighbors hate it, but my daughter loves the sound. And I'll take her like from here to there. And I have a little Super 73 electric bike I take her to school on. I put little BMX pegs on it for her feet. And she puts on her unicorn helmet.
Rad.
And that's how I take her to
Stands
school.
behind you and kind of holds on kind of a thing?
No, she sits right in front of me and
sits in
holds the
front?
middle.
Oh.
And it put the little pegs right here, on the neck for her to put her feet on.
How cool,
She
man.
puts on her
I made my daughter
unicorn
a
helmet.
chopper out of a Strider. You know what the Strider
cool.
bikes are?
Yeah. Cool. Is that a Schwinn?
No, it's like the balance bike you teach kids how to ride on.
Oh.
I chopped it and raked it out, and I extended the forks, and then I put a sissy bar on it with custom leather, and it turned out to be the most impractical bike you've ever, because it just folds in half.
Right.
If you try to ride it like a regular bike, So she got on it, and the bike's going like this.
Oh, jeez.
So I put little wheels on it, so she still rips it. But
that's
what was your favorite scene your most memorable scene in the movie?
I think the campfire scene.
I was gonna say.
That was kind of written in a different way, and then Michael did his speech about not getting enlisted and for psychological reasons and so forth. And it kind of, I took that speech, and after he did it, they were coming around to me, and I go, can I change this a little bit, because I'm listening to that story, and the way he did it was so amazing. In my head, I'm thinking like, he's just like me. Like, he's a fuck up just like me. And that's why I want to hang out with you guys, as opposed to like, woo, party and burping, And Jeff's really good at reading the room and playing what's real with everybody in real time.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people that you work with and they're like, I wrote it like this, you say it like this.
Yeah.
But he's not like that. Yeah. He said it, not me.
I know, that was Mike Miranda.
I'm the guy.
Yeah. But he's good at adapting, and he's always got his eyes open. He's always thinking. It's cool to work with him. Yeah.
So I mean, it's about motorcycles, but like a lot of Jeff's movies, it's all about the people. It's the human element, the human connection, and and that whole thing. What's it like being on a set with how many motorcycles were there at one time?
Oh my God, there's a field full, and there's also old cars, which were really cool.
Yeah.
Really nice cars too.
Yeah.
And like that one scene where they're fighting each other with the other.
Yeah.
It was a gang, but.
Yeah. There was a part in the script where it says, me and Cisco, I think we do the mountain climb.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, I get there and I'm like looking at this bike and I'm like, how am I going to do this? And I thought I was going to do it, and they shot it on a day I wasn't there with a stunt guy. I think Jeff did it actually, but all I could think of when I saw the bike was like, how am I going to get up the hill? How's this going? I'm going to die.
6 free tires.
Yeah, I'm going to die. And then And I expected to come back because I was bouncing back and forth from France to Ohio. I expected to come back and, what's today the day, the thing, you know. And,
You're sweating it for like
yeah,
like
the
weeks,
whole time
right?
I'm like, how am I gonna do? I'm gonna go for it. Like, see how far I get. Yeah.
Dude, that's so motorcycle though. You're like, I'm just gonna go for it.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens, you know?
Yeah. I love looking at all those old videos of kids jumping their BMXs over stuff and wiping out and
Yeah, oh, totally. Well, the opening scenes from On Any Sunday when those kids are on their BMX bikes, you know, and crashing and stuff, crashing them themselves. Yeah.
I also enjoyed that scene a lot too when you hit that big Bowie knife and you're just playing around with it, you know, and you're like, I came here to get you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh shit. And it got like, it was like that perfect moment. I feel like the movie had a lot of moments that were very kind of built up, but also you know, like I don't know, traumatic almost. Yeah. But that wasn't one of them. But that was just like one of those movies like there's silence was more than anything. Where like nobody knew it. So like, what are you gonna do then? And you're like, nothing. I'm gonna hang out with you guys.
You know
it was so cool.
In my mind, Funny Sonny was sent from California like he's in trouble. You do it. Like he wasn't like, oh, I'll go do it. He was like, oh, fuck you guys. Right? Yeah. You know, and so it was easier to switch into, no, let's hang out. They're never gonna know, you know. And then there was that part where Funny Sonny hands her the red dress.
That was gonna say that was another one. That's the one I'm thinking about. It was like very intense.
When I read it, I thought I was doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
I thought, you know, I know the like elements of the club getting too big and the chapters getting too big and letting people in, it starts to slip through their fingers and go downhill. I thought that was one of those moments where, like, he's like, I'm gonna fuck this place up, you know, like. Yeah. I thought, and Jeff's like, no. You don't mean it like that at all. Yeah. But in my mind, I thought that's what I was doing. Yeah. When I read it, anyway.
Yeah, because when I was watching it, it was because I was trying to like process the movie as I was going, because it was like very cinematic, it was very visual. I'm watching more. There's so many things happening at the same time, but then like the subtle things of the like the script, right? And the way the actors are actually like conveying that message, and I felt like it was a party. It was an atmosphere. It was very party, and then and then you could tell her too, right? Like she's like, this is the weird thing to me is she's like, well, I've been a part of this since it started. I know everybody here, but now all of a sudden she's totally getting taken away, and it was just like it was a very transitional time, like I think for the movie, and it seemed like, was it really intense to film that, or?
What was intense was the part for her when they're trying to take her upstairs, and it was like 5 a.m. when she was doing it too, so she had that against her. But she's screaming and crying over and over and over again. It's like sort of hard to watch from here to here. She was so good in it. Tom was great in it. That's those scenes. You could tell how emotionally drained she was. Yeah. You know, she's so good in the film. You know.
Yeah. So for the people that rode in the movie, were there any kind of people new to motorcycling that had to figure out how to ride and like? I gotta do this.
I'm not naming names, but there was a bunch. Yeah.
Did anyone surprise you? Like that person has the addiction now. They're gonna go home and they're gonna go buy a motorcycle.
Oh, I'm sure. No. There's a lot of that. Yeah. There's a lot of.
People are asking you. They're all like, "Hey, so I know you like to ride regularly." Like.
No, it was more like Jeff going, "You're fine. I gotta worry about you. You're fine." Yeah. And I'm like, "So you give me this one with the duck?" I'm like, but he's like, I'm not worried about you." And I'm like, "Well, that I don't know if I like that or not." But I think there was like school they did.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, a little something. But I know some people are just terrified of them.
Kind of like stunt training. Like you can't just like come out here and like.
There's no helmets, like.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Which does
the insurance must have been sky high.
But like a lot of us, we get a taste of it and you just can't get enough after that. Yeah. And what's cool about the movie, again, we don't see a lot of these real biker movies that often, right? So we're all stoked to see it come out just because we love the bikes and everything. And it promotes motorcycling, right? Even on the small scale. You're bringing people into motorcycling on set. But something we're thinking about is, it doesn't portray bikers in necessarily the best light in the world, So in the sense it's like in the biker community and all this kind of tough stuff and club stuff. And I'm curious, like, how do you think the general public might receive the message, Like,
I don't, he starts the club for all the right reasons.
Yeah,
Marlon Brando.
Yeah, and the more people
against,
join and the bigger it gets, it starts to slip through his fingers, and he's trying to hold on, and he can't do it, and he wants Benny to do it. So I think there's that part, but I think most people think of biker clubs as a negative thing sometimes, you know, unless they're bikers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, ooh, scary, you know. But, you know, I do ride. I travel all around the world. I meet bikers in the mountains of Japan to wherever, and they're great. They're all the same person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know
it's a great equalizer. Is
yeah,
what it is.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I know if my bike breaks down on the side of the road, it's probably going to be a biker that stops and helps me.
Yeah.
You know, so cars don't wave to each other when they go by.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah, they don't warn you. They do a little blinky thing maybe, but yeah.
If you're lucky. Yeah. It's kind of cool. But we're just stoked to see the movie come out and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And you do a lot of traveling and bike riding all over the place for the shows and everything. Is there like a dream road trip you would do, and maybe people you might do it with, or something you've been, you know, just for yourself personally? Like, I've always.
Yeah, I want to do Vietnam and Cambodia, and I you know, maybe Cuba would be cool. You know,
Cuba sounds nice.
Yeah. There's a lot of places I'd like to go. I haven't done Australia yet. We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah. And what's the appeal for Australia?
Just lots of space, lots of wide open space. I like the heat too, like, you know, because we shoot that show a lot of times in the winter, and so we got to pick warm places. You know, you know, when we first started that show, they're like, "What gear are you gonna wear?" And you need pads, and I'm like, "A t-shirt," and they're like, "What?" A sweatshirt maybe at night. But I like to go somewhere warm. So Australia.
Yeah.
You know, the weather, I think.
Warm's good.
Yeah.
And I know we're run out of time a little bit, but one thing I did want to mention, because like our origin story was right with Norman, right? Which we all were just hooked to. And we may not be able to talk about it, but we are getting into the fall.
Yes.
Might there be a
probably,
season 7?
Probably, yes. Maybe, probably.
So
very likely.
Definitely, yes, maybe, probably, could be, maybe.
Yeah. Yes.
But we'll be keeping our eyes out for sure.
Yeah.
Right on. Cool. Well, anything else we should know about the movie, or just go buy our tickets and check it out?
Go buy your tickets. I hope you have a good time watching the movie. It really is a moment in time that's gone. You know, and it's so influential, from the music to the styles to the bikes, the attitude. You know, it kind of all started with there, and you know, Danny Lyon's taking those pictures, and some other photographers taking similar pictures. You know, a lot of those photographs I collected for Daryl, because I was like, you know,
really?
Inspiration on, you know, things to wrap around that, and you know, style-wise and attitude-wise. So you know, go watch the movie. It's fun. Yeah.
Check it out. Right on. So that's the Bikeriders coming out, I think, this June.
Yep.
I know we'll all be going to check it out. Hopefully, all our podcast folks will be as well. So anyway, right on. Thanks again, Norman.
It's a
Always
pleasure.
a treat,
It's good to see you guys
Always
again.
a treat,
Yeah.
for sure.
Pleasure.
Yeah, so it was great catching up with Norman. You know, hard to believe it was 2016 when we had him on the podcast originally. Not to say we weren't on his show,
I was
but
in my 30s.
it had been a while. But gosh, such an easy, sincere, genuine person to talk to. It was a treat. And then we got like the cherry on top, or the bonus material, Jeff, who was anyway. Mike, you and him hooked up pretty.
Yeah,
well.
so Jeff Millburn is he was a person who was just standing around. So again, kind of the scene was when you go into this area, which is reserved for all these interviews for the media. They have like a kind of a closed off area with a bunch of I don't know, kind of like little rooms that they built, and it's the kind of thing you'd see on YouTube where you're like, oh, that's a really cool background and scene, but they literally just built this little thing behind curtains. There's another one right next to it, another one right next to it.
Little studio.
Yeah, little studios, and then right outside of it, like a little fake brick wall and shit behind it. It was pretty cool. But right outside of that, there is a Harley, like a vintage Harley from the 50s, and another one. Right, and me and Jim are just kind of poking around, just kind of like figuring out like what happens, how does this go, and we're bullshitting with each other. It's like awesome Butler's right there, Jodie Comer is just like sitting there for like we were taking selfies. But the one thing I said to Jim was I was like, bro, I don't think you should be taking the phone out. Look at everyone else here, like no one else has their cell phone out, right? I think this is like
I did the over the shoulder.
Yeah, I was like, the actors are working right now; they're at work, so I think everybody else is like respecting that. But we're just like, oh, it's like, oh, yeah, like pictures and shit. But anyway. So
as long as you don't release them, it's okay.
yeah, and so we had these 2 bikes out there, and I saw just a guy just kind of like standing by them, and another guy who didn't look like movie people. They looked like, you know, mechanics or I don't know, just maybe dressed more like we were. So I just went over to it, and I'm just kind of crunching around the bike, and I caught one of their eyes, and it was like this like weird awkward moment where they're like, "Who are you?" and like, whatever, like, you know, like dog sniffing butts and shit, you know. And,
Don't look at me when you say that.
I am looking at you, yeah, because that's how it was. So anyway, I asked the guy, and I'm like, "Hey, is this from the movie?" And he starts, yeah, he was like, "Yeah, this is Austin Butler's bike. Like he bought it and blah blah blah." And I'm like,
Benny bike.
Yeah, the Benny bike. And I'm sitting there looking at it. I'm like, holy shit, this is like the actual movie bike. I mean, how often do people get to do that? And I had just seen the movie, so, you know, I like kind of was checking the whole thing out, and I just started asking him some questions about it. And this other gentleman comes up and starts chatting with him, and then I felt like they were getting a conversation, so I was just gonna like kind of walk away. But I had just said, I think I put my hand out and introduced myself. I'm like, "Hey, I'm Mike." I'm like, did you build this bike?" And like that was it. That's all we needed. And he was like, he's like, "Actually, yeah." And he's like, he just started telling me all about the bike. And I'm like, "Oh, like, what do you do? Like, what do you?" He's like, "Oh, I'm the stunt coordinator." I'm like, "Oh." And he's like, "I also did the stunts. And I also sourced all the bikes. And I also trained the guys to ride." I'm like, holy shit. This is probably the most interesting person for our podcast besides the actors in the room for motorcycles. Like, what the hell? So it was very interesting. And I just, you know, I got really stoked because I had made this kind of connection when I was watching the movie. I'm looking at the bikes. I'm looking at the bikes. I'm listening to the acting. I'm watching the whole thing and trying to, you know, really be, you know, observant. And the one thing that caught my eye didn't take me very much to see was that there was a transition of bikes, because the movie takes period over 65 to I think it's 74, about 9 years, right, when this this book was made with photos of this actual, you know, a motorcycle club. So, but in that quick transition of time, if you think about like 1965 to 1974, there was a lot going on at that time. There was the war, there was, you know, things, right? But as we all know, in kind of the motorcycle culture, there's, you know, there's Harley people, there's sport bike people, there's track bike people, there's all different types of people, right? And people say like, "Oh, you ride motorcycles, like, so you must be cool with everybody." Well, we all know that's not exactly true, but we try to be. With that being said, East Coast and West Coast in 1960s is completely different as far as styles of motorcycles.
Style.
Yeah, access to materials and like artistic creativity when it comes to things, right? And you know, if you know anything about custom bikes, that's like huge. Is your motivation and inspiration.
How many times have we seen a film where there's like a 4-stroke bike and they've got a 2-stroke sound, you know, exhaust sound?
Right.
Yeah, because people don't get how important it is.
Absolutely. And I don't particularly care for like the straight up, like big old, you know, huge Elvis Presley, like, you know, fairings on the wheels. And that's not my thing, with the big lights, lots of chrome, like low handlebars, like the steer bars. You know, it doesn't do it for me, but you know, there's people who are just like absolutely want it bone stock, like from the 50s. But that's what they were.
But when you see the Benny bike, it does it for you. I mean,
Yeah.
it literally has
Yeah.
to be one of like the just, and one of the things they say about the movie is everything's so cool about it, which is kind of true, but I'm telling you that the bike itself is worth seeing. It is cool as fuck.
Yeah.
And he let you sit on it.
Well, yeah. So then we start talking, and I said to him, I said, like, well, let me ask you a question. I said, you seem like you would clearly have an answer to this question. Here's something I was thinking about. I said, I noticed that all the guys are riding very similar bikes to this, or bits stripped down in stock, you know, just some kind of bolt-on things that would be present at that time. But then as the movie's transitioning on, and I'm not going to like do any spoilers for the movie, but like new people kind of come in, younger people coming from the wars, and the club starts to transition and change. But the interesting thing is, if you're looking, so are the bikes. So the whole thing is filmed in the same area. You know, the movie's based in this area, but the introduction of different things introduces different things, and meaning different parts of bikes and different looks, different age groups, right? And that was like huge, because I'm looking at it and I was like, wait a second, did I just see a Frisco tank? Did I just see a stretched front? Did I just see like actual ape hangers? Like towards the end and towards some of these new guys coming in, and especially Sonny, right? Funny Sonny, which is Norman Reedus in the movie. And it was just like one of those things where I was like, it was just nagging me, and I finally had someone I could actually ask about it. And I thought that maybe it was just on a whim. They were like, all right, cool, like we're just going to throw these in now and throw that in. but it was by design, which is very interesting.
Right.
What I thought was really cool, and you hear in the interview, is how important it was to Jeff that they got the authenticity nailed, and he talks about that, and he was like excited to share that. And it was fascinating when you talk about the cinematography aspect of the importance of the time period and getting it accurate. It was fascinating. So how you film that kind of stuff.
Well, if you watch the movie, you're not going to catch this, but the interesting thing was that he's talking about him having this battle with the director for duration of the movie to try to maintain this very authenticity of it. Because Jeff Millburn, the actor, is a storyteller. He's taking this photo book and trying to make a story out of it that comes alive. But I don't know that he's necessarily like in the culture of motorcycles.
You mean Jeff Nichols?
Jeff Nichols. I'm sorry. Yeah. And then so Jeff comes in and he asks him, "Hey, can you help me make it authentic?" And Jeff's like, "Absolutely." But he was like, "It's kind of like me when you ask me to be somewhere at the same time. I'm like, be careful what you ask for, because I'm going to give you what you want." And that's what Jeff was. And it was so interesting because he was like, "I can't believe you just saw that." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Can you go and tell the director?" Can you go to Jeff Nichols and tell him like what you just said to me? Because I've been arguing with him for this entire time we were making this movie about the importance of these really small details. And he said to him, he said, "We're making a motorcycle movie. Motorcycle people come to watch this.
Right.
It has to be these very small things." And he's like, you wait to see if we don't do it, what's going to happen." And eventually, Jeff, the director, kind of conceded, and it cost more time and more money, but he really got to do what he thought was to do. What needed to be done, which for people like me and other people who are really into it, that's a huge part, because these bikes start to turn into actual characters in the movie. You see them transitioning and growing with the club.
So it's so perfect that you guys were there. It seems like he recognized these are biker people. These are my people.
Right away.
And that's why it's such a long interview, in fact.
Yeah. So, he was really excited about the whole thing. And I asked him if he would sit down and talk with us for a little bit, and he was ecstatic. But the only thing is we didn't have anything scheduled there. We didn't have a room. So we kind of had to make do with what we had. So we grabbed a quiet table outside, and, you're going to hear waitress and some airplanes and cars going by and stuff. And, of course, me vaping, which Liza's very unhappy about. So my apologies. But, yeah.
This is Mike. I'm here with Jeff and Mike. Also, we're at the bike shed. And Jeff, I had a chance to speak with him a little bit about some of the motorcycles. I was noticing that they had what looked like the motorcycles from the movie were, here at this junket, and I just started talking to him about it, and I think he instantly realized that I was actually interested in the bikes more than the movies. And we started talking, and I said, "Well, do you have a couple minutes? Maybe we could sit and discuss them a little bit further on the podcast," because I said a lot of our listeners are like movies, but more interested in the bikes and the little nuances and the stuff that goes involved with it. So do you want to tell us who you are and give us a little bit of background about how you got into this movie?
I sure can do that, Mike and Mike. 2 times, Mike.
Yeah.
So my name is Jeff Millburn. I am a stunt coordinator. I spend most of my time doing car commercials, but I have done a couple of movies. I have a background in racing, of course, because every stunt driver and motorcycle rider has some sort of background in racing. That is my background before being a stunt guy. I've worked on a bunch of really cool movies that I think are great because other people made them, and I was lucky to be a part of them. My best friend and almost oldest friend in the whole one. Look, my meal is here in the middle of the podcast. I'm sorry.
That's good.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Is this ruining your podcast?
No. Munching makes
Can I get a water? You're the best.
I think munching kind of really adds to
the authenticity.
Absolutely. This is
authenticity.
This is real, man.
Are you filming this too? Or is there...
Yeah, he's filming. As well.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, everybody, I'm
I'm
eating a burger. Okay, so
what are some of those movies? Do you want any movies we know?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of TV shows and stuff. One of the first shows I ever worked on was the original Walker Show.
Okay.
Worked on Prison Break, worked on, there's a whole list you can look on IMDb.
Sure.
But the ones that I'm most proud of, you're the best. No, you're not in front of the camera at all. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
We're gonna
kidding,
get you
Donnie.
to sign the waiver,
Yeah.
please.
Look, now we got water.
Jim, did you vet her?
Yeah, you have to ask something about.
Thank you. I apologize for that. Oh, you're a sweetheart. Thank you.
Well, it kind of goes with the territory.
This is kind of cool. I'm sorry that happened. Okay,
We're
so
not. This is great.
so I don't know. I worked on a bunch of shit. The more famous ones that are recent that everybody likes and wants to know about is Ford versus Ferrari, which I was not the stunt coordinator at all. My friend Robert Nagel was. He was also my boss on Baby Driver.
Okay.
And let's see, is there anything? Like I said, I mostly do car commercials. I do a lot of car commercials, and I do motorcycle stuff in commercials as well, but I drive a lot of cars in car commercials. I mean, I could name some, but some of the stuff I'm not really that proud of. Not that I'm not proud of it, I guess I should say. Jesus, now somebody's going to want to know which one I don't like, right?
Yeah.
Like, which one were you not proud of?
Everybody check it out as soon as...
Yeah, look at his IMDb and try to guess which one.
Exclusive.
Yeah. So there's the background. I guess that's enough background for you, right?
Yeah. So how did you get here today? I mean, what was your...
This
what is
morning,
your
or?
role? Yeah. Did you drive a bike car? No, I'm kidding. What was your role on the Bikeriders movie?
Okay, on this movie, I got a phone call from the producer, Sarah Green, and she told me that the director, Jeff Nichols, was interested in hiring me as the stunt coordinator of this show. And I know how he got my number and how it happened because from my buddy Oliver. I know Jeff Nichols' brother. We're not best friends or anything like that, but we've known each other for years.
The punk rocker.
Yeah. And Mike Ness, speaking of punk rockers, is who introduced me to him. Mike and Oliver knew him. I don't remember. I think Mike introduced me to him, but Oliver became friends with him pretty good, so Oliver knows him. And somehow Oliver was in a room with them, and Jeff Nichols said, I'm making a movie about motorcycles, and my buddy Oliver, who's a tattoo artist, says, man, you know, my best friend is a stunt guy, and he's into old motorcycles. And I can imagine the eye roll that Jeff Nichols was like, yeah, everybody's best friend is something. I don't need to hear about it. But later on, I think Oliver, do you know who Oliver Peck is? The tattoo artist. He's a tattoo artist. And he just must have pushed and pushed and pushed. And finally, Jeff's like, all right, I'll see who this guy is. And then Oliver told me within a second of him sending him my information, he called back and said, whoa, this guy is what I need. You know, so I'm very flattered that Jeff thought that, and he had one of the producers call me. That's how I ended up. And I didn't just get the job, by the way. For you people out there, you don't just get the job because the director says that all the producers and the studios have to decide you're good, which I had to compete with some other guys for the job.
Kidding.
Yeah, and it was a rough compete too. There's no doubt about it. It wasn't a walk in the park at all.
So okay. Now, do you work on the bikes? Do you set up the stunts for the bikes? Do you bring the bikes? Are you like, what is that role look like in the movie? Like, do you?
Yeah, I guess I should background this thing.
Sure, because we're not in the movie.
I understand. Thank God.
Yeah, thank God.
That's why I got on with you guys in a minute.
But you guys are. There's better people than me, and I think we're sitting across from them.
Thanks, I appreciate that. But no, so I'm a stunt guy, as we said. I have a small business that is what's called a picture car prep business that takes care of vehicles. I have these guys which you met one of them here. He was one of the mechanics. And so on commercials and stuff, I send my guys out and they take care of the cars. There's a few other stunt drivers that have had businesses like that. It's sort of like what do you call that? You're kind of expanding your... Fleet? No, I don't think I'd say fleet. I have a shop and we can do things like build roll cages. So if a show's happening, my business can provide services. Car prep services is what it's called, or picture car services.
You know what that is, right?
I do know what that is.
Bike works and...
Well, then you know
I'm
what
an assistant prop master.
Okay, well then you know everything about that.
I know a little bit. We like hearing your story instead.
Oh, thanks. So I have this business, and when Jeff and I talked on the phone, I guess we talked about a few things, and he said, one of the first things he said to me is, please, I'm calling you because I have a feeling you're not going to let me fuck this up. Don't let me fuck this up.
And he's regretting that now.
Yeah, because I have I've made his poor life so miserable for 5 months, and that's okay. But we get along great, you know. He and I love each other. But so I said, this is what we can do. If I'm the stunt coordinator, I will rent all the bikes to the movie, and that way, all my guys are on the right bikes. We know they're good, and he's like, I don't talk about that. This is not my business. That's you and producers. So. After he and I talked to the producers, and they said, okay, well, what do you got? What do you think? And I I made the proposal that if I was the stunt coordinator, that I would supply, my business would rent the bikes, and the first list was 45 period motorcycles. And I think Jeff said, hey, I would like to do this with Jeff because I'm trusting that he's going to make sure we don't put the wrong bikes in and whatnot. So
Was it hard to do though? Considering there was a lot of photos and like the whole thing is based on like the photography.
Oh, this was not a walk in the park.
Did you have to build anything specific?
Yes, I'm going to say we, and I need to give credit to other people, but people under me, if you want to say that word, or people, that's a terrible way. I don't want to say that. People that work for me, we put a lot of bikes together. I had a lot of bikes of my own. I had 2 or 3 friends that had pretty big fleets of period bikes that haven't been messed with.
Yeah.
So I had to buy a few things, and I had to build some stuff. That bike we call the bridge bike, we built 2 of those to match that photo in the book of everybody that's listening. Probably knows what that photo looks like. So we started working on that. I had to work on the deal because now took my stunt coordinator hat off and had to work on the deal with the producers. Like, this is how much we need.
You get a budget.
Yeah, budget and all that is not really my forte. The guys. Yeah, it's the most annoying thing in the world. And then the guys that work for me had to help, and we had to figure out how we could do these things. And I had to talk to all my friends.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take all your motorcycles. We're just going to load them in a truck that Teamsters are going to get.
Yeah.
Now, it's not even me loading their shit in a truck. You know, Teamsters show up with this big trailer, and they're like, "Wait, where are you going with my motorcycles? I thought we were renting this to Jeff or whatever." So I talked to a lot of buddies into a lot of motorcycles, and they were all very grateful for all them. A few people I didn't know that well that I got names of. When it comes to the motorcycles, what happened was I started really researching the photos because I knew which character had which bike that we could tell in the book. It's not as easy to tell. You wouldn't believe how hard it is to tell who's what in the book. And so we matched the Benny bike pretty quickly because that was one of my bikes, that 65 Panhead that I have. And I can't tell exactly what year his bike is by the photos, but it's a 63 4 or 5. And we went with my 65. And I put a buddy's seat on it to match his seat, and we put some other things on it.
How far off of stock is that bike?
My bike?
Yeah, because like, say if you're like just an average person looking, and you're like, okay, cool, it's a Harley, right? Most people, oh, it's a Harley. It says Harley on it, right? Most and then if you know a little bit more, you're gonna know the difference between the motor, right? You're gonna say, oh, it's Panhead, it's Shovelhead, it's a flat.
Oh, that bike is, but it's not an original paint bike. Well, some of it might have some original paint, but it's not an original paint bike. But it is as period correct as you could get for a 1965.
Yeah.
And this movie, the date, there's only one date stamp on it. It's 1965. Kind of, the story starts in 65 and goes to 74 or so.
Yeah.
So, and Benny's bike, sorry about the horn, folks. Benny's bike is a 63 4 5, and we went with my 65 because it was my bike, and we always knew from the beginning I was doubling Austin Butler. So I just thought we're just going to use my bike.
Look alike.
No, I'm not as good looking as him.
Version of Austin.
He says shit like that, and it's so embarrassing, you know. There's some of the young ladies that are in charge of us.
Yeah.
The handlers. The handlers, as it were.
Sorry.
So
we're on a mission.
Dahmer glasses.
You keep saying all has Jeffrey Dahmer glasses on.
Dahmer specials.
So that motorcycle was. I'm going to try to just because I'm going to get in a lot of trouble if you start talking bad about those people. Those very sweet young ladies. Oh shit! I'm all upset. My hamburger's getting cold.
Do you want to pause and eat your food, and we could just take 10, and then you could eat?
Can you do that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we.
Yeah, funny little sidebar. As we're hanging out and Jeff's trying to enjoy his burger, Norman comes rolling by, grabs his burger, and just takes this big old massive bite out of it. It was pretty kind of funny. And we all got a good chuckle out of that.
Yeah, it was such a weird kind of casual situation. We were literally sitting there having this interview. He's eating food. Waitress is coming up. All of a sudden, Norman Reedus is like passing by with his helmet on, and we're all shouting at him from like, oh yeah, come back over. And then all of a sudden, he just like runs over. And then he starts chatting with us, and he just grabs his burger right off the plate and just starts chewing on it. And
poor guy just wanted to eat lunch.
I know,
yeah,
right?
it was really funny.
It
We're
was
interviewing
fun,
him. Then Norman comes and eats his food. Like, yeah, he's a good.
Anyway,
he's a
food
good
was
sport.
bomber. I had fried chicken. You had pizza and something.
I did.
It was good.
I did.
Well, let's get back to the interview.
You good? All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Turn it back on.
And am I on?
Oh, they are? Okay.
Where did we leave off, Jim? Norman was eating my hamburger.
Yeah, Norman was eating
That's right.
hamburger. So, yeah.
Fucking Norman came over and ate my hamburger, people.
Yeah.
There.
Where did we leave off, Mike? Do you remember?
We're talking about the number of motorcycles that you made for the show.
That was built for the show. And again, I have to give credit to the people that actually, I did a lot of work to some of them, but I was very busy with my stunt business. Not stunt business, but the business of being a stunt coordinator. I was very busy with that. So back in the shop in Dallas, we put together a purple bike. I painted it in 2 days. It's all metal flake and stuff. I was in a hurry. But we put that thing together because I already had all the parts to put that together. And then I realized that we should build a bike. And that's the door slamming. I realized we should build a bike that matched the photo, the famous Danny Lyon's photo of the guy riding over the river.
Yeah.
So what I did was I called my buddy back on the East Coast that he worked at Satan Cycles, which that could be a whole nother podcast just about that place.
Yeah.
But that's where I worked part-time when I worked at the dealership up in the East Coast. And his name is Darrow Dudley, but everybody knows him as Wilbur. And I asked him, do you have any parts? We got to build a couple bikes. And he said he had enough parts that he had bought from me with some sale of a garage. Mm-hmm. He's like, I could put that 1950 motor together. And I told him what I needed to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's my hamburger leaving.
Yeah.
And Norman, why did I say Norman? I'm thinking of Norman eating my hamburger, right? Wilbur graciously said, I'll just put the bike together for you. You know, he just said, I'll put one.
So he built the bike.
So Wilbur, in record time, he was now retired. He'd been a mechanic his whole life, and he was the guy building motors over at Satan Cycles. He was kind of a part owner. Ed was the main owner, and Maureen ran the place. The three of them ran it. But he said, I'll just put this thing together, and in record time, he put that bridge bike together.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, this is great. And he didn't hardly charge me anything.
Yeah.
He just kind of did it for. He's a retired guy, and he's the sweetest guy in the world. I see him once or twice a year. So he put the bridge bikes together, or bridge bike one together, and I thought to myself, oh my good God, that bike is going to be so important. And I had read the script, and here's a funny nuance. I'd read the script 100 times, and I should have paid more attention to the fact that there is no character of the guy that's riding over the bridge, because Danny Lyon's the photographer. Didn't even know who the hell he was. If he did, he long forgot. And so he never went back and interviewed him, so there's no story for the cool guy riding over the bridge that everybody loves. But I, being the go-getter that I was, I said, Wilbur, we got to build a second one of these. If you built that one that quick, you have enough time to build another one.
Yeah.
And so sorry, we're being arrested right now.
Yeah.
See, I told you should have vetted him better.
I wasn't vetted good enough.
Didn't you already ask about Lawrence?
Yeah. So I realized that I had all these parts, and we could build another bridge bike with what I had. So I loaded up all this shit in one of my box trucks that we take to set, and I sent some people that work for me to the East Coast with the parts that I had, and I found a 57 choppery piece of shit to get a motor out of, but everything else I had. And in record time, Wilbur built up a sister bike. So he built these two. I mean, I don't know, everybody knows the bikes, and they're fucking cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is great. Wilbur's the greatest guy in the world. I paid Wilbur. He didn't even hardly want any money for anything, you know. Paid him for everything. Maureen got the parts that we didn't have. And I rented a bike from Wilbur that we had used in some other movies as a police bike. And so Wilbur had 3 bikes on the East Coast, and he had a friend bring it over to Cincinnati, because that's where we shot the movie, if you didn't know that. And we get him there, and the director and I start going through everything about whose bike's going to be whose, and realized there's no character for these 2 bridge bikes. So we spent all this time, you know. There's literally no character, because everybody that's spoken for, that's written about in the book, we knew what their motorcycles looked like, and we matched their motorcycles. The authenticity is damn close.
Yeah.
You know? The Johnny character, when everybody sees this movie, in real life his bike had a windshield, and his bike had a stereo on it, and it had leather saddlebags and a whip antenna and speakers. But Jeff, the director, wanted him to have a stripped down bike. So we pretty much, we were really close. He had a panhead, and we went with this red, white, and blue bike that belonged to my buddy Oliver. That bike came from Six Flags 50s Town.
Yeah.
A mechanic over at Six Flags passed away. Somebody called Oliver and said, hey, he had a panhead sit in his garage for the last 20 years. Oliver goes over and buys this thing. I don't care what Oliver says. If you ever talk to Oliver, he's full of shit. That bike was a pile of shit that had been put together with parts for 50s Town. And Oliver claims he started that before I took it to Cincinnati, but I do not. He's my best friend. I think he owns 54 motorcycles. He doesn't remember which one he started. We took that thing up there and I'm like, this thing's a pile of shit. The camshaft almost fell out of it. But that ended up being Tom Hardy's bike, which was really important.
Yeah.
We spent so much time working on that bike.
So his bike came from 60s Town.
50s Town.
50s Town.
Six
Flags.
In Six Flags in Dallas.
You hear that, everybody? Tom Hardy's bikes came from Six Flags.
You had one of them.
We had one of those.
Yep.
We had one of the Benny bike. We had a lot of one-ofs. So that bike came out of that town, and that man had passed away, and we went to his estate sale. Oliver bought the bike, took it back to his place with all the rest of his bikes, and it was just sat there. Really, now Oliver is so happy that bike was Tom Hardy's bike, because of course then Harley made a tribute to it, and Oliver's gonna wait till the movie comes out and
So
sell
it's a
that
big
bike.
fucking deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gonna sell that bike for 15 times more than it was worth before it ever showed up in
And it
Cincinnati.
didn't even start.
It ran. It
didn't started once.
He says it started once before it went to Cincinnati. I don't
The
believe
story
him.
goes.
Yeah. Allegedly,
Yeah.
he started that motorcycle. I say it was another motorcycle he has that's red, and he just mixed them up, because when we got it to Cincinnati, it was completely a mess. But we did the mechanics on the show. There were some of my guys that I hired as mechanics. That was one of my stipulations, that if all those bikes were going to be mine,
well, of course.
we wanted mechanics that were my guys up there. As I love Teamsters, but I didn't. I knew they would just hire Teamsters and picture car guys, and they'd show up and they'd be like, "Oh my God, we got a bunch of knuckleheads and panheads and flatheads," and I just figured it would be safer to be full-on Harley Davidson mechanics.
Yeah.
One of the other guys was Jerry, which his bikes are in the movie. Jerry's a lovable young, older man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that bike got a lot of work done to it. Is that answering those questions?
Yeah, it does. What I want to know is how exactly are the bikes related to the characters in the movies? Because the one thing that you and I were chatting about over there, which I thought was very specific, and you said I should definitely talk to Norman about this, because it's something that really didn't get highlighted a lot that you think is important. And it's like, it's not necessarily behind the scenes stuff, but it's like relative to the movie, right? You're going to have movie people who are going to go watch this movie, and they're going to have bike people who are going to go watch this movie. So like, what was so important about these bikes that would be important to bike people? And then especially the transition from the, just a few years, right? From the mid-60s
it's pretty
to
much 65, because the only date stamp on the movie, because Jeff, the director, promised me he would not go farther back than 65, because that was very important, because Benny's bike is a 65, and I didn't want to blow up the internet.
Yeah. Looking
he
for
says it's 1962, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, that's a 65 Panhead." So, so the date stamp is 65 of the kind of, that's when the story starts. That's how they. And I like the fact that you brought up the transition, because it was Jeff and I, the director and the production designer, the three of us spent a lot of time discussing the motorcycles, which characters were going to be on the motorcycles, and the characters that aren't book characters.
How many total motorcycles did you have?
Okay, so my original deck, do you know what a deck is?
Yeah.
So my ex-girlfriend's an art director, production director. She made me a deck. It's the coolest deck in the world, because it has all these explanations of the motorcycle. The original deck had 45 bikes in it. A couple of them we didn't bring to the show, but while we were up there before pre-production, or in pre-production before filming, I acquired more bikes, and then my buddy Oliver, of course, goes with me everywhere. If you only knew who this guy was, he's insane. He starts showing up, and I kept making him leave whatever bikes he brought, and he'd go back to Texas, and he'd come again with another bike. So we started adding bikes, and then when Austin, before shooting, Austin wanted a bike. He's like, I want a vintage bike. I want one of these things, are the coolest thing in the world. So we found, I'll say this, an overpriced 1966, and the guy bought it from a really nice guy. He knew that I was going to buy the bike, and he knew that it was going to go to this movie that he heard about.
So he could juice up the price.
He was definitely not giving me a good deal on this bike. But one day at lunch, Austin and myself and Oliver, a couple other actors, which we can get into that about the riding. We were getting in so much trouble.
Yeah.
A couple of my stunt guys. We ride to Bank America. I withdraw $20,000 out of the bank. I hand the money to Oliver. Oliver jumps in one of the box trucks, drives to North Carolina, goes to the congregation. Have you ever heard of that? It's a really cool thing that goes on over there. The Prism Supply guys put it on. I say it's cool. I've never been there, but I've seen pictures, and it's really cool. And they'd love me to bring the van, and I wish I would, but I haven't. Because I was working. Oliver gets this bike, brings it back, and I'm like, oh my God, I just paid $20,000 for this 66. But that bike got put in the movie.
Did it run?
It did run. It didn't start very well, but once it started, it ran. It was kind of a piece.
They never do, though.
Yeah, they don't. It was kind of a piece together 66, and it was the 66 that's in here.
Yeah.
When we were done with the show, I took it back to Texas, and I disassembled every nut and bolt, and I put everything that was not either made in America or Harley Davidson. I had the parts, and I put it back together, and that thing runs like a top. Likes to dry sump the oil a little bit, but
yeah.
I've been messing with that oil pump. Oh, somebody had taken the oil pump off and put an early one on, so they didn't have any oil going to the primary, and it was just a mess.
I thought it was funny because when we came up, at first I was joking. I was like, there's no oil running under these bikes. They're not real. This isn't a real Harley.
You want to know what's funny is I'm amazed that there's no puddles under these bikes.
I know.
And I'm like, wow, am I really good, or have I not checked the oil? No, I checked the oil on this.
Yeah.
So did that answer your...
It does. Now I got another one.
Okay, go ahead.
Obviously, you're a stuntman. You know the value of having multiple takes.
Right.
How many of your bikes did you have multiples of?
That's the thing is the only real multiple we had was the bridge bike that wasn't even a character's bike. It didn't even matter. You know, it literally didn't even matter that we had multiples of that bike. Yeah. And as you guys know, you can't just go find two matching 1966 bikes that one has, one thing on another. There was a time where something happened to the 65 Panhead that was Benny's bike, and I started getting yelled at, well, what do you have that looks like it? And I started saying, we don't have a bike that looks like it. It has to be this bike. And they're like, well, because something happened to it, and I won't throw anybody under the bus, but something happened to it. And I'm like, you guys kind of messed up in a way, and now we broke the Benny bike is what happened, And
do anything but break the Benny bike.
Yeah, we broke the one bike that had to be in every shot for 3 months. That bike had to be. Yeah, and that was why I was. That's why I originally picked the Benny bike, because I knew I would be the one riding.
Fucking Harleys, dude. Harleys is like it's almost like the Harley's also an actor who's like tricky. Sometimes doesn't want to work.
Oh, I've heard Jeff, the director, say we had some prima donnas on set, and all of them were Harley Davidsons. They didn't want to work when it was raining. They didn't want to work when it was hot. They didn't want to work when it was cold. They didn't want to work when it was dark.
And I did a season of the Mayans. It's not just old bikes. The new bikes do the same damn thing.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we could just throw a charger on them and jump them back to life.
Yeah. I don't think so. She would have told me it was time to go. She's the most lovely
I want to
person.
get back to this this thing about the transition because I felt like that was really important for you. Like, so my observation in watching the movie yesterday was that was it yesterday? Or was it the day before yesterday? Whatever. That there's these bikes, right? And there's also the culture of the East Coast and the West Coast, right? There's so much influence. Midwest. Midwest. I mean, there's so much influence on the styles of bikes. And even still to this day, you go Northern California to Southern California, there's different version of the same bike, right?
I did my best.
Yeah.
And I don't think I could have. I couldn't have put any more hours into this, and I couldn't have put any more time because there's only 24 hours in a day. Mm-hmm. Looking at all those photos, and then Danny Lyon sent the director a lot more photos that aren't in the books, and we looked these things over and over and over and over again. And
but that was important, though. Like
it was the most important thing to me. Just the whole thing was important, but the motorcycles were important. And I talked to Jeff and the production designer, and I said, hey, the way this works is the way this worked then is in the Midwest, and Johnny and Benny and these guys, Cal. I don't remember all their names. I feel bad that I don't remember all the actors' names. They were riding bikes that were pretty much just a bike that they bought, and they might have dolled up. They might have put a buddy seat on it. They might have put some spotlights on it. They might have put a windshield on it. Johnny's bike was definitely over the top. It had stuff. The real Johnny.
Like Farkle.
Yeah, it was a definitely. What do you call it? A Coney Island. Almost acted like I didn't know what it's called. I know exactly what it's called. It was. We have a picture of the real Johnny bike, and his wife is sitting on it. It has a giant whip antenna on it.
Yeah.
So I explained to Jeff, and he listened, and he was mad at me sometimes because he was, was messing with his thing.
Yeah.
Because he liked some of the different bikes, and I don't think Jeff really thought that the big giant Harley Davidsons that looked like the Benny bike and that 66, that wasn't his aesthetic that he really liked.
Yeah.
But I kept saying, well, this is what Benny's bike was.
Yeah.
And this is what we had, an identical twin to Cal's bike.
That's important. That's so important, especially if he's telling a story about the photographer.
And I explained to him that the way this story is going, these guys are in the Midwest and they don't know anybody from California, and they're doing their thing that with these bikes that they come from the showroom and they might do they add a mud flap, they add some bags, whatever, but they're not.
A little bit of chrome.
They're not customized choppers.
So how are the riders? How is everybody there? Because Norman was like alluding towards that there was some people who are maybe a little sketchy or not as comfortable on the bikes as other people. Or are you not able to say anything?
Politically, I should say nothing.
Okay.
How
about off the record?
How about off the record, Jeff? Yeah. Here's the deal. There was
Well, don't say any names then.
No, I'm not going to say any names.
Yeah.
I will say there was 4 or 5 guys that I think did a great job. And we're talking about actors now. We're not talking about stunt guys or anything like that. There was Austin, of course, spent all the time. He put in so much effort. He would come back from Hungary, and he and I would be up in Agua Dulce working on riding him. And I had the 2 stunt guys that were kind of like my 2 lieutenants. That was AJ Hately and Danny Downey. I want their names to be out there in the world.
Yeah.
So the 3 of us would take these actors. Our job during the day during pre-production, our job during the day was to take them to this giant parking lot where the train station was, which is a cool building in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And we set up cones, we set up things, we did drill after drill, like 8 hours a day.
Jesus
We did
Christ.
these drills. There was
it's like the MSF. Like if you ever take like their safety driving course, like you'll do.
Can you imagine doing that for 8 hours?
Because I have. I did it with my wife. When you're sitting in the parking lot for 8 fucking hours driving, like, oh my god, I hope I pass this thing. I don't want to do this again. You know what I mean?
And a lot of and we set up things that were like if you were gonna go get your license in California, what you'd have to do. And
You need an extra?
We don't need any extras, I don't think. Nice hat though. We had some guys that took it really seriously. Carl Bluesman, one of the actors, he is friends with another actor that has a bunch of old bikes, and he went and borrowed a handshift bike, and Carl was like, man, I want you to put me on a handshift bike no matter what happens. Toby Wallace, he went and got his license and everything in Australia because that's where he's from. He and I had worked together on a Sex Pistols show.
Yeah.
And we got along great. And Toby, I got Toby on a handshift bike in a week.
Really?
Yeah.
But not on the hill.
They all had front brakes.
I was gonna say,
so you could be on all the hills you want.
As fuck.
Yeah. No.
You're
yeah. Well, I could tell you the funniest story in the world about Toby.
Yeah.
But Toby loves that story. He told it on the behind the scenes, and they cut it all out because we were cracking up, and I literally pissed myself.
Yeah.
What happened when the story happened in real life. Chris here, sitting here next to us, he went and borrowed somebody's handshift bike. He was one of my stunt guys. And so a lot of guys took it seriously and went and got older bikes because a lot of the guys that worked for me, stunt guys, were motocross racers or trials guys or a road racer here or there, or drift guys, so they needed to get up to snuff pretty quick on handshift bikes because not all of them, not everybody owns a 47 knucklehead or some shit, I just said 47 knucklehead, that's
old.
Yeah, old. So I'm just saying there wasn't a lot of that, so we worked a lot with the actors, and then we would incorporate in the older bikes. As Harley let us use some newer bikes. They had sent them over to us. They asked if they could help in any way. I didn't suggest this, but somehow they sent us some new bikes. So we did a lot of drills on new bikes, and I did a lot of moving the guys around on different bikes so they didn't just get used to one bike.
Yeah.
The actors, I'm saying. So there was a lot of work there. Norman's right. There was,
Was there any like sketchy shit where you're like, oh my god, like that was almost really bad?
Yeah, that's the story where I pissed myself.
Oh.
And I literally pissed myself.
Really? Can we tell it without names?
Oh, he doesn't care.
Oh, okay.
Because it was Toby.
Let's hear it.
So to tie into what we were talking about earlier, which I know we need to get back to, is how the progression of the bikes are.
Yeah.
Toby plays the kid, who is the one fictional character in it.
Oh, yeah,
So the kid is a young kid that is sees the original Vandals riding their old bikes, and he and his friends start putting some bikes together, and they're getting a little more influenced by the Funny Sonnies of the world, right? Who shows up from California, which we can talk about that later. But so his bike, from the beginning, was going to be this knucklehead that belonged to one of the mechanics that was on the show, a very close friend of mine, Jerry. And this fucking knucklehead was a pile of shit. I don't care what the fuck Jerry says. He sent me a picture of it that was fuzzy, and I'm like, oh, that bike looks rough. But he's like, no, it's great. It starts right up. It's great. He gets there, and this thing is, it has a little bit high bars.
It always starts with that. It starts right up. It's great.
Yeah, it's great.
That's every great story starts with it starts right up.
Yeah, and so he brings this knucklehead up to Cincinnati with this other shit. And I look at this thing, I'm like, Jerry, he brought 3 bikes, and 2 were choppers, a knucklehead and these were late 60s looking choppers. They had kind of high handlebars, and they were not 70s looking choppers. And I'm like, Jerry, this fucking knucklehead is a pile of shit. Oh no, this is one of my best bikes. We call it the Widowmaker. I think that's what he called that. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. And it's a hand shift bike. It's a jockey shift with a rocker clutch.
Okay.
So, he started that thing up, and I'm like, that fucking, and this old man, he's 70 something, and he jumps on this thing and takes off down the fucking street by the shop. I'm like, what? He needs to slow that fucking thing down, man. There is no way it has brakes to slow that thing down. He comes by me, boom. Like, fuck, that bike is fast too, you know? Yeah. He pulls in, he's like, all right, it's great. I'm like, I'm gonna be the judge of that. So I get on this bike, and you ever ridden a rocker clutch bike? You know?
I haven't.
And what it is you push it backwards, and the clutch is.
Oh yeah, I do. I had that on my VTX. Sorry.
Yeah. So I just, I'm like,
yeah, you
there,
kick down or you push forward.
Pushed forward,
yeah.
you know. And I'm like,
takes a second.
I start to like, gently. He's like, no, man, you gotta stand on that thing.
You gotta stomp it.
And I'm like, really? You should. You're supposed to just rock it forward. He's like, oh, you gotta. He's like, and you gotta get on it because it won't die. And I fucking nailed it. You know. Neck jerk. I'm like, this fucking motorcycle's ridiculous, you know? And I go to slow this thing down.
All torque.
Yeah, I pull the clutch in. I pull the brake in. Nothing. This thing doesn't even. There's no stop.
You rubble it.
And then and I got the rear brake, and I push the rear brake, and it goes all the way to the floorboard. You know, and I'm like, I got no front or rear brake on this thing. And I get it slowed down, and I come back. I'm like, Jerry, man, you gotta fucking fix the brakes on this thing. I cannot put an actor on this motorcycle.
Sure you can. It'll be fine.
What are you talking about? I just rode it by fine. I'm like, yeah, you're used to this thing. And the director was like, that is the bike for the kid, because the kid's supposed to put this bike together of parts, this junky, almost chopper thing. So I'm like, well, we need to work with Toby. And I told Toby, we're gonna work on the weekends together.
Yeah.
You know?
It's funny because that's exactly what caught my eye was what I started to really think about. It was when he brings them outside and he's like, hey, come and take a look at our bikes.
Yeah.
And then they go and walk outside. And that was what I was looking at. I was like, oh shit, those look nothing like all the 50s
these
style
are
bikes
these
that they
are
had
younger
there.
guys. So you want to hear the rest of the Toby story?
Yeah.
So I take Toby. We're at what's called the picture car shop where all the bikes were kept and where the mechanics work. And so I'm like, all right, Toby, we're just going to stay here. We're not going to go down to the train station. We're not going to do this in front of everybody else.
Yeah.
Because this thing is fucking dodgy. I'm telling you, I've been riding motorcycles my whole goddamn life, and half my motorcycles are hand shift. And this thing was just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
I hated the thing the minute I got on it.
And how was he with riding? Was he kind of comfortable?
At this point, Toby had his license. He was great on the Honda. We started on Honda Ramble.
Yeah.
He was great on the
the
Sportsters.
Rebel 500. Is it?
We had a 302 or 300 or whatever it is. That was our. What we did was everybody graduated from the Rebel,
the European
Sportster.
Style.
Yeah, and
like the tiered.
Tiered licensing.
And so he was by that time riding the hand shift. The purple bike that I threw together.
Oh, he must have felt so proud of himself.
Oh, he was
it's like I'm the fucking man.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean?
4 weeks later, he's riding a hand shift bike, right?
Yeah.
And he was doing great. And by this time, we'd been tell you stories about us going out at night and getting in trouble and shit because we just take the bikes out at night. I got in a lot of trouble with that. So I'm like, Toby, we're gonna go back. We're gonna just us on a weekend when nobody's around. We're gonna at least put you on this fucking knucklehead.
Yeah.
And I tell him, I'm like, this knucklehead is
serious.
I hate this fucking motorcycle. You have to just open the throttle up and stand on that clutch, and then you're going.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And I said it's a little different because that purple hand shift bike was, a spring-loaded clutch like it'd be on a Servi car.
Yeah.
So it's a little more like driving a car. No, it's cool. We pulled that thing out. We took pictures of him and me and Jerry, the mechanic, and like, all right, Toby, here we go. And I point him in a straight line, like, this is it. And he rolls the clutch on. And I'm like, I want you to just roll as best you can, get it on, and it dies, And I'm like, all right, you're just gonna have to step on it,
Back in neutral.
Yeah, and we get in neutral, step that thing on, and he goes. And I'm like, as soon as you go, just slow down.
Keep going.
Start slowing down.
No, I told him I said, just start to slow down and step back on, and you'll see how the clutch works back and forth. Okay, so he did that a couple times. And then we sort of got pointed where we're going around the building, and the way the building was, it backed up it had a parking lot in the back, and it had this sort of like big sloped, where trees and shit are. It's Cincinnati, it's beautiful there. And there was at the edge of the parking lot, there's a gully there. So I said, whatever you do, don't get over there close to the gully, just stay in the parking lot. He's like, yeah, cool. And I'm riding at this point, I just get on the Rebel, so I can be next to him. Kind of coach him through. I'm like, all right, you ready, Toby? He's like, right. He gets the clutch, almost wide open throttle, and the throttle just goes, and he has to turn his hand back. He knows that. He's ridden diesel. Pulls the throttle, steps on this thing, straight for the hill. And I'm like screaming, Toby, clutch, pull it in. I'm like, clutch, because he's got to step his foot back on the clutch. But he's hunched over, he's got the throttle, and he's just like so set on like, I'm going, and then he realizes, shit, I'm just going in a straight line, and he looks up, and he kind of doesn't really know he just froze.
Yeah.
He locked up.
Whiskey throttled, yeah.
And he's got this thing, and I'm like, Toby, and he right into the side of the mountain. He hits this thing.
Did he go up or did he fall over?
Well, since there was that little ditch, it's like a Springer, so the front end in the ditch.
Yeah.
Toby is still holding on to the whiskey throttle, right? He's holding the throttle, and his legs go up in the air, flying W, right? You know what I mean? Like just full on W in the air.
Yeah.
He goes over the handlebars, the bike flops over to the side, and he goes, he's in the fucking weeds.
Yeah.
Right? And I stopped the Rebel, and I have literally pissed my pants. I am laughing so fucking hard. I was like, I've never seen like anybody really.
It's like a YouTube
video.
Yeah,
flying W's.
I'm like, there's no way he just did that. And then, I'm thinking, I gotta go get him out of because he's up in fucking trees and grass. He's up in the shit, right?
Yeah.
This bike is buried up in this hill, and I cannot stop laughing. Like, I'm laughing, so I think to myself, nobody's gonna believe this happened. So I pull my phone out and I just take a picture of him up in the hills, and then he's like, "What happened, mate?" Like, he doesn't even know the bike. He's just, and I'm like, luckily the bike died at some point, or it'd have been just like, bring it. And I was laughing so fucking hard, I couldn't even help. Like, I couldn't even get the bike. I had to just sit down because it was so goddamn funny. So I called, and one of the picture car mechanics was back there, and I called him. I'm like, hey, anybody back at the shop? I'm gonna need help getting this bike out of where it's at. And we dig this fucking thing out, and he's just like, I am not riding that fucking motorcycle ever. He's like, I don't know what the fuck is with that motorcycle. And I was like, you're gonna have to ride that motorcycle in the show, man.
That's how I feel about my shovel head sometimes. Like, I to be honest with you, my shovel head is not a practical bike at all. There's nothing about it that makes sense. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. And like, it's funny because I'll have friends who have like one or two bikes, and one of them's a chopper, and we go to ride, and they want to like get after it and start ripping, and I'm like, I got like a bunch of sport bikes, or like my dual sport, or my supermoto. Like, if I really want to start ripping a little bit, my chopper, I'm just going out to have fun, beat around.
The slower you go, the more people can see how cool you look.
It's right. That's right, exactly. Yeah, but that thing is and I'm thinking about putting the jockey shift. I've been thinking about it for a while, but it's so fucking sketchy, the ride.
When it's that far away
to go like this, it's just like I can't really really make sense of it. I
got a bunch of bikes with jockey shifts, but I have front brakes. I'm a front brake lover.
Yeah, so am I put front brake on both of my choppers. Yeah.
There's your story.
Yeah. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about the movie?
Well, did we talk about how the progression of the bikes went?
I think we keep skirting around the topic.
You want
Mike keeps talking about his bike collection.
I do, I keep talking about me.
All Mike wants to do is talk about, that's why it's called Mike 2 times.
Mike
3 times. 3 times, you just, 3 times you've told me about this fucking chopper. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No,
So the transition.
Yeah, the transition. So what? While we walked around the picture car shop and we had all the bikes lined up in there, I did my best pitch and explain to Jeff, the director, that the Funny Sonny character, I had picked out his bike before we even got to Cincinnati, and it was that it's kind of a bobber chopper hybrid thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the handlebars are kind of high, and I called Norman and said, "You're riding a handshift bike, Norman."
Yeah.
He's like, "Man, I ride a Triumph." You know, I'm like, "You're riding a handshift bike, Norman." You know,
This guy drive a Triumph Tiger.
yeah.
You're
He's like,
"Dude,
I ride a
no."
new bike. You push a button and it starts. But Norman was a good sport with all the training, and
Yeah.
he swore for days I was trying to kill him.
He had a Triumph chopper in Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I've never seen it.
Yeah, he had a Triumph chopper.
I worked on a Walking Dead show. It wasn't his. It was the Return. But we don't want to talk about that. So we knew that when Funny Sonny, Norman's character, shows up in Chicago, it is probably 68 or 69.
Yeah.
Somewhere like that is the storyline, maybe late 69. Because it's during a something. Benny's
post-war and stuff like that.
So, I don't think it's post-war, but I don't know. We just know. Jeff and I talked about it. It was in the late 60s.
Yeah.
All you need to know.
Yeah, that's all the world needed to know. As we discussed, we cannot put date stamps on everything because some of these bikes kind of skirt the thing. But we knew Funny Sonny's going to show up in the late 60s, and he's going to be riding something that looks like a late 60s or mid 60s to late 60s, something from California,
Mm-hmm.
a Southern California thing, because he's a Southern California guy. And Jeff loved that idea. He loved the bike that I had picked for him, that we'd brought for Funny Sonny, because I don't think in the book you ever see what Funny Sonny's bike is. There's no explanation to it.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to copy a Funny Sonny's bike. We didn't have to double or whatever you want to call it.
But I mean, that's the way that you kind of like
That was our. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's also that kind of like creativeness, right? Where there's no picture, there's no reference point. But that's when you need like a bit of common sense and somebody who actually knows a bit about the culture and the history.
Are you trying to say I have common sense?
Yeah, it was Jim I was talking about.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
But I mean, like where you're kind of applying like is you have like movie people who are like, oh, this is what looks good.
Oh, they didn't care.
Then you have like actual reality of the way things were, and especially on some of the interviews I had seen with Jeff, it seemed like he had this like it was very important for him to capture this story, and it would just be really strange if he didn't really incorporate like actual, things, and the bikes change, like being a character, I thought was really interesting.
Well, I from the beginning said these bikes are the characters.
Yeah.
And I've been quoted saying that I don't really care about people. I only care about the bikes. I think Universal cut that out of the. Universal cut that out of the behind the scenes. So I said this is going to be the catalyst of the bikes changing,
Mm-hmm.
and as we go, because we added bikes as we went, because that's how it went. And the Funny Sonny bike is the catalyst that comes from Southern California. It's very important, this whole story, and Norman tells it.
It pivots.
Yeah, it starts to pivot everything, really.
Yeah.
It pivots the people and everything like that, because they start getting longer hair like Funny Sonny and not be as much as greasers or whatever. But we had to be very careful. I say we. I just kept screaming, you can't shoot Funny Sonny's bike from the side until after 1970. And everybody is just like, what in the fuck is wrong with Jeff Millburn? He's the stunt coordinator. Shut up about which way we're going to film the bikes. And I'm like, you can't show the side of the bike until after 1970. Because the front of the bike, it is a chopper from the late 60s. And then I'm like, okay, we have a story. Why the motor changes. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, Jeff, there is a story. Funny Sonny's bike has a panhead motor in it when he rides out from California.
Yeah.
On the ride out there, he wore the hell out of the panhead motor. Him and Cal start stealing motorcycles in 1969, 1970, and they're stealing brand new bikes. They put a 1970 motor in his bike, and you can show the side of the bike after 1970, because now he has a 1970 motor in his bike. And they're like, what is wrong with you, man? Nobody is going to pay attention to what the hell motor is in Funny Sonny's bike.
A subplot.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is so important. And what's funny is somebody took a picture of set while we were filming that happens in 1970.
Yeah.
And they see a picture of the side of Funny Sonny's bike, put it on the internet. Everybody loses their shit that there's a 1970 motor in Funny Sonny's bike. I'm like, does everybody even know that's 1970 when that happens?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jeff, look at this. The people are fucking caring about the motor in the bike, and we've only filmed for a week.
Yeah.
We're like, you can't say it's not important.
Yeah,
People aren't going to notice, right?
I mean, the first AD, I love him to death, Don. He kept saying to me, "Why do we have all these old motorcycles?" He's like, "Nobody cares about these motorcycles." He said, "My wife is going to see this movie for Austin Butler and Tom Hardy."
Yeah.
For a minute, I thought I said their name wrong. But
yeah, no.
And I said, "No, the bikes are a character." And he's like, "This is bullshit. These bikes, they don't start. You're having problems with these bikes." I'm like, it's so important that these bikes are in. So that transition happens as the kid, because the kid starts coming around in the late 60s, right? In fact, I think if you tie it together, you can figure he shows up on a motorcycle about the same time Funny Sonny shows up, and his bike isn't quite as cool as Funny Sonny's, and then they get cooler. And if you want to say cool, as a chopper, you know what I mean? Like his and his gang's bike are really pieced together bikes.
Well, it's a transition. I mean, you brought up two completely different, I would say genres, but like greasers and like long-haired hippies.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, you're just kind of melding them together. But then you have like this Midwest and then California things that come together. So I mean, it's just really cool to actually get that in, because anything that we usually see about vintage motorcycle stuff is, it's like, you know, what would you say? It'd be like California. It's mostly California.
Yeah.
So we don't really get the Midwest.
It's a Midwest story for sure.
Yeah, you brought up a really good point, though. I mean, these guys are not really modifying the bikes. They don't really have modification capabilities. They're really just like kind of bolting some stuff on.
I don't know if it's a capability. I think it's more these guys are...
Or influence.
They're Americana guys. And that was very important to Jeff, that Johnny, you know, he's a veteran.
Yeah.
In fact, I think Benny probably is somewhere. You know, he probably got kicked out of the military for being a rebel. Mm-hmm. But these guys were veterans, very Americana. They're not bucking anybody's system, really. The original guys in this story, they're friends that have this place that they hang out at, and they ride motorcycles together. They're not going against society as much as, say, the Southern California guys were.
Right.
And at least that's the point that, well, not the point, that's what I saw in reading the script. But you know, when you're reading a script, it's kind of hard to, you're reading the script and going, okay, what is this trying to do with these characters? But the way you tell the story in a movie is the words, but it's also the visual.
Yeah.
So the motorcycles, definitely they change as it goes, and we get into, by the end of the movie is 74.
Yeah.
And the battles that I fought about that, because
it was just a stark contrast, like watching it, like it, and that's why I came up with.
I'm glad that you saw it.
I wanted to talk to somebody about it, because I'm like, oh, is this like, was this a thing? Did I miss this?
With me, I don't know if anybody else caught it.
Yeah,
no, it was
like they shot the two dudes at the end, and they're like, when she starts doing the monologue about like, oh, they're turning into this whole thing. They even hire them as killers, and then we see them rolling up, and you see these massive sissy bars in the background, and like the high bars, and I was like, that is not the same bike we just saw an hour ago. I mean,
it isn't, because by that time it's 1974, and Funny Sonny has showed up in the Midwest, and the Midwest guys are coming back from Vietnam. They've all met people from California.
Yeah.
They have, like, their whole, by that time, Easy Riders is probably a magazine. You know, before that it's Cycle Enthusiast.
Yeah.
So you're seeing. And I think the story, I'm not a storyteller, Jeff is a storyteller. The story is that Johnny's getting left behind.
Yeah.
You know, Johnny's folks, these guys riding these kind of stock bikes with little doodads on them, they're getting left behind for the kid and his people.
Yeah.
And they're out killing people and selling drugs. And
Easy Rider, what is it? Easy Rider? The Marlon Brando, Wild One, all that stuff's like kind of California based, right? But then they have the kind of original Harleys in that movie, and so then like the influence on the East Coast would be like, oh, that's what it is, right? And they start doing that, and then it comes back. It all like comes full circle because it goes back to the California style. So it's like the styles keep coming from the West,
definitely.
You know,
and I was sold on the I was told, not sold. I was told by Jeff that this movie is supposed to fill the gap between Wild One and Easy Rider.
Yeah. And that's what struck me, is no one covers this period. And I thought it did it awesome, because what really blew me away is you see the guys on the old Marlon Brando Wild One bikes, and then you see Funny Sonny show up. I haven't seen the movie yet, I've only seen the trailers. And you're like, California. You know,
that was so important to be. Funny Sonny was from California. These other guys are some Midwest guys, and they, they're more greasers.
Yeah. Well, I see like little pictures of like the Purdue, like the club guys, the Purdue chapter, from San Bernardino, and that kind of stuff. It's very much that era, that whole
MC thing from the early 70s.
Well, I dig that you caught that, and I'm glad that I could be on your podcast to help with that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm glad we got the chance to talk to you. And your name?
Chris.
Chris.
I have my stunt guy sitting over here just
Quiet
staring
Chris?
at us.
Yeah, you don't have lunch, do you?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Did you vet him, Jim?
I just did.
Pat him down. Check his pockets.
There's a reason why we ask. I'm just saying. There's an thing called the internet.
Yeah.
We want you to go home with your family tonight.
Chris and I do a lot of car commercials together. He usually drives an armed car.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Chris
Nice.
raced motocross too. He was probably better than me.
Yeah.
All struggling
Yes. Just a bunch of guys that didn't really do that good, so we ended up being stunt drivers.
That's funny.
That's cool, though.
Well, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. And sorry we interrupt your lunch. And we'll be in touch with you if you ever want to come up. Santa Cruz, we'll definitely set something else up again, and we'll do something specifically.
You're up that way every now and then, or something?
Yeah, I am. I'm going to be up there for the AMCA swap meet. It's
Where's that?
It's in Dixon, California. It's outside of Sacramento.
Dixon, okay.
Is that really far from you guys? I don't know.
I mean,
You're
Sacramento's
probably
3
taking
hours.
a 5 all the way up there if you're not going to fly.
So we're like Monterey Bay. So we're
on the water.
Santa Cruz is on the north end of Monterey Bay.
Okay.
So it'd be like.
You're pretty far away from home, guys.
Oh shit.
Yeah, we are.
You drove down here to put
No,
me
I
on
flew.
your podcast? Oh.
Well, if we
I'm
had
gonna
more
say
heads up,
you
we
guys were
would've made a road
fucked.
trip.
You came all the way here just for me and Norman. And he ate half my fucking hamburger.
Yeah.
That was
We
a
like
trip
Norman.
right there.
Yeah, I'd be honest
Goddamn
with you,
Norman.
we were stoked to talk to Norman though, because we did this before with him, and the other guys do they ride? I don't know. It's not really we're a motorcycle podcast.
Everybody likes stickers, yeah.
So I don't really know. That's why I was I'd be more stoked to talk to actual motorcycle people than movie people.
Then we
That
hit it
works
off
better.
there, didn't we?
These are my own. You're
Just 'cause
rad.
you're
So stay rad.
Oh, thanks, bud.
All right, so what an awesome trip that was, whirlwind experience, and wouldn't trade it for anything. So a big shout out to Norman Reedus for taking the time out of his incredibly busy schedule. That guy has so much going on, it's
Yeah, he
wild.
does.
So a big shout out to Norman to spend some time with us once again. Another shout out to Vicky and her whole crew.
Mhm.
Everyone at Bike Shed, every person we dealt with was so kind and generous. It was great. And to Jeff, of course.
Yeah, Jeff was awesome, and I'm so glad they all had enough time for us.
And I want to say big thanks to you two for covering since I couldn't be there. Again, I'm so jealous. You guys.
Anytime.
All right. Thanks.